Hi there. Welcome to The Preventable, the podcast giving you a seat at the table with conversations about the intersection of alcohol, drugs, and mental health in everyday lives. Take a seat and join us.
Welcome to The Preventable. With me today is my cousin, who also happens to be a doctor, who also happens to be a principal of a school that we are in and have been in for a long time. So with me today is Dr. Dana Liberton, principal of North Kirkwood Middle School.
Thanks. Yeah, not the type of doctor you want in certain emergencies.
Yeah, not like a surgeon, but like a doctor.
Right.
That's
how my dad says it.
That's how my Uncle Tom used to say it. Dr. Liberton. So, all right, Dana. First of all, thank you for saying yes.
Absolutely.
I felt like I owed you one after you secured some amazing wrestling tickets for us. Fun fact, we both really love wrestling.
Yeah, we're Hulksters.
We are old school Hulksters, that's for sure. So thank you for saying yes. Thank you to Kirkwood School District for saying yes that you could be on it as well. You're a little older than me, not a lot, but a little older than me. And I remember kind of being surprised when you went into teaching. I don't know why I was surprised.
I was surprised.
Did you? Yeah. So did you always want to be a teacher, or where did that come from? I mean, I knew you were a camp counselor. So I don't.
No, I didn't always want to be a teacher, but I do remember always wanting to be a principal.
Huh.
And apparently it's a prerequisite. You should teach first.
I mean, that's what they tell me.
Right. But
because we don't have a lot of educators in our family.
No, none. Yeah, no. But I remember I went to Kirkwood High School, and I had our grade level principal. Her name was Debbie Coco.
Okay.
She was the coolest lady. And I just remember thinking, I wanted to be her. Mm-hmm. And I've told her this. So this won't be the first time she's hearing this, but I just remember wanting to be her, and her in a way of people took her seriously, and she was in a world with mostly men, but had the respect of everybody.
I mean, you do like to be in charge, Dana.
I like to be in charge. Yeah, that's not new.
No.
That's not new, right?
No.
And when we were growing up, I think it was harder then. I think it's still not easy all the time, but it was harder then, especially to be a woman in charge, because we know that there are certain words that are used for women who are in charge, and
Yep.
And I just
start
remember
with a B, in case you were wondering.
No, it did.
Right.
No, right. Have you been called that?
I have been.
Yeah.
I have been. And
I haven't, but it might come.
And here's what I'll say. I have been, and I've also said, I know this might make me sound like a B.
Right.
But
yeah.
Here's what it is.
Yeah.
And this is why we need to.
No, and it's real. And I remember for her specifically, I just thought she rode that line where I think people forgot she was a woman when she was in the room.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So, yes.
It's not like she's a principal and she's a woman.
No, she was just a principal. She was just in charge. Yeah. And so I thought that was super cool. So I always wanted that. But when I went to school, I really had no idea what I wanted to be. My dad hadn't gone to college. My mom hadn't gone to college. I really didn't know what I wanted to be. I just knew I wanted to go to college, and I wanted to play softball.
Yep.
And so I started taking classes that I liked.
At Bradley.
At Bradley, right? Bradley University. Played softball there. Had a professor there that I loved, this lady named Dr. Blau. Again, strong woman. Loved her. Went to every class. Well, the NCAA has this thing where they won't let you play your junior year unless you have a certain number of credits towards a major. So my junior year shows up, and they said, "You need a major." And I said, "Ooh."
That part.
That thing. So anyway, they looked at my transcripts, and I was really close to an English major, so I majored in English. I had a minor in Spanish.
So English was what you actually taught, right?
Yeah, but I did not leave with an education major. So that came later. I graduated college, didn't know what I wanted to do, was helping coach softball. Ran into a former teacher of mine who happened to be walking with a principal at the time. And I said, hey, I just graduated from college. I think I'm going to go to grad school and English, Spanish. And the principal's ears perked up, and he's like, Spanish? My buddy over at the middle school needs a Spanish teacher. You want a job? And I was like, I don't have an education degree. And he's like, well, I mean, how close are you? I was like, well, I mean, I took some education classes. And he's like, listen, you get the job, I'll call it your student teaching.
Whoa.
And I was like, all right.
And this was at North Kirkwood?
Yeah. So the principal at the time was in Europe bike riding, and I met with him a couple weeks later. I mean, I remember him calling me and asking me to interview for the job and said, bring your resume. And I was like, I don't have a resume.
One. Right.
And he goes, well, do you have anything that has your stuff? And I was like, I don't know. Is that for like a Watanga award? So I walked in and he goes, well, how soon can you be here? And I was like, I don't know. I was doing pool therapy with my grandma. And I was like,
Grandma Good Grapes.
Grandma Good Grapes. I was like, I can be there in like 15 minutes wearing what I'm wearing. He's like, great, be here in 15 minutes. So I walk in a Lilith Fair t-shirt and some cut-off khaki shorts and hand him my Watanga Award application. And it was August, and they were desperate. And 5 minutes later, he offered me a job, and I loved it.
What is a Watanga?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was at Bradley.
It
I
was
don't
a
know.
thing. Okay,
I didn't
all
win
right.
it.
You said it like I should know what it is.
Well, I don't know. It was a big deal.
Okay, it was a big deal.
I was nominated, didn't win it, but it won me a job. And at the end of the year, he was like, so what do you think? You like this teaching thing? I'm like, I love it, but I probably shouldn't be teaching Spanish. So he goes, what do you want to teach? I was like, English. He goes, done. So, so I taught English for 10 years and got my master's in admin, and then didn't walk into, but eventually was an assistant principal for like 12 or 13 years,
right.
And now the head principal.
Okay, so a couple of things. When I was thinking about being a teacher, and when I joined a program that sent me to teach,
right.
I observed you in the classroom, and I was like, whoa, I don't think I can do this.
I don't remember that.
Like, not because it scared me, but like, I'm not even just saying this. Like, you were very good.
Oh,
you were
thanks.
a very good teacher. And your students, who were middle schoolers, which is my favorite age, and
love
that's
them.
the age I was going to be teaching, I was like, they really like her. And it was awesome, but sort of intimidating at the same time, you know? And so I've seen you in action teaching. I've also seen you in action as assistant principal. When I hear assistant principal, I think disciplinarian.
Yeah,
no,
that's part of it.
Okay. So to do that for so long, and then you just successfully completed your first year as principal.
Yeah.
How has that transition been? I mean, I asked you a couple weeks ago, and you were like, hey, it's fine. It's great.
Yeah, it was. It was great. And I loved being an assistant principal. Honestly, those kids who make mistakes and mess up, those are my kids.
Yeah.
Like, I love them all.
Mm-hmm,
but like, to be the person on the other side of a table after a kid has made a mistake that he's going to remember forever.
Yeah.
To be the one having that conversation, and it's a conversation that kid's going to remember forever. You know, like, it's one of those moments, one of those core memory moments.
Because they're like petrified that they're sitting in front of you.
Yeah,
so it could go like a couple of different ways,
moment,
right? It's a moment.
It's such a moment.
Defining moment.
Right. And honestly, that relates to what you guys do, right? I mean, those are those moments. Those are our at-risk kids that if I do my job well, they leave mad at themselves, but like excited about like turning the page. And if I do my job poorly, they leave calling me the B word, not owning it, and heading down a path that is super risky, right? And it's troublesome. And when they leave if you've nailed it or not.
And so you're talking about that sort of that at risk or that early intervention where something's going on and they've made a choice that has set them in front of you and no one wants to do that. I mean, they might like you as a person and say, hey, Dr. Liberton in the hallway, but like they don't want to be in your office.
Right.
Okay. But then you also have been a very strong supporter of our universal prevention programs.
Yeah.
So you've pushed your former principal, remind me his name,
Tim Cochran.
Yes.
Yep.
You all really pushed for us to come in and work with all of your kids.
Right.
Because I think you and Kirkwood in particular recognize that all kids are quote unquote at risk, right? Because we all have stuff. And so you're a believer in early universal education.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but like you talk middle school, there is a shift that happens to all middle schoolers around 6th grade. Prior to that point, they just want to please adults.
That's it.
Right? 7th and 8th grade comes and they just want to please their peers. And so those are the kids that we have in our building. And so if we can have a strong peer population where it's cool to be cool to be good, then we've nailed it. But if it's cool to be bad, we're in trouble.
Right.
We're in trouble, right? So yeah, I mean that universal prevention's huge.
It's huge. And we thank you very much for allowing us to come in and really speaking about the power of our programs, because not everybody understands. I mean, you're giving up academic time, right? And so that can be a tough sell. Well, why would I carve out this time when I have to do X, Y, and Z for, these sorts of requirements? And it's that other side of the report card. But I feel like you understand the importance of paying attention to that too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I get it. We are blessed to be in a district where we don't have the state hounding us about our scores, right? So I can give up a little time. I get it. But I'll tell you, the other side of my brain doesn't get why everybody wouldn't have you in, because the reality is if our kids, if they're not well, they're not hearing what we're teaching them anyway. They're certainly not retaining it. So I'm a big fan of it. And I also like your guys' programming is not just don't do drugs. Right? I mean, It's about here's how you build friendships. Here's how you end friendships in a healthy manner. How huge is that?
Yeah, I know, right? I wish I would have had that when I was in the 6th grade.
Right? Because you're going to have a breakup someday, either with a friend or with a significant other. And you teach how to do that also. I mean, so it's not just about
drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs, don't drink. I mean, yeah, of course we know not to do that. But it's like that other stuff that if all these other components of your life are healthy, you don't even go there.
Right. So talking about kids and how are the kids, and I know research says and common sense tells us a lot of our kids are not great right now. And I think it's also fair to say that a lot of adults are not okay. There's lots of people sort of hanging on by a thread.
Sure.
There's mental health challenges. How do you feel like your district did this past school year in really addressing that? But then also anything cool and exciting that you all have planned for this coming year? Because I think that Kirkwood y'all are pretty innovative, and you all, North Kirkwood, you got a pretty big award, right? It's a big deal.
Yeah, we did. So we were second time actually at our district Scotnip. So
Whoa.
We were a National Blue Ribbon school, but our high school is a National Blue Ribbon for this year. So back to back in the same district.
Whoa, that's big.
I know.
That's big.
I know. It's a big deal. But I mean, I would say, again, and our district is fortunate. We have a lot of resources, and we have a school board that just gets it, and they understand that we need people to be really well. So we've added actual people as resources. But this year, when you talk about things that are exciting, what we believe is that if the people in front of our kids aren't healthy, that it's really hard for them to teach to our kids. So as you know, every district has professional development days, and that's normally when you're sitting in a room and you're learning about a gazillion different things. Every single professional development this year for our teachers will be around personal wellness.
Whoa!
And so
really?
We're planning our first one, and at first I needed this clarification. I was like, okay, so do they have to leave knowing certain things? And it was no, it's really about them. Give them opportunities to be more personally well. So that's our district put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, that's pretty
with that
amazing.
idea that that if we can help them be more well and give them paid days and opportunities to be well on those paid days to get themselves more well, that they'll be better in the classroom for kids. That's huge.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's some metric that's going to show
right.
It's going to be able to prove that, but we know we're going to feel it. So I'm excited. We have this day before school starts, a wellness day, and we're planning bike rides for our staff and hikes at Powder Valley, and
my staff are probably listening to this going, hey, that's a great idea.
I know. I have a friend coming in that's going to teach laughter yoga. So we're just doing it's just cool stuff where hopefully at the end of that they leave that day feeling $1 million.
Yeah.
And then maybe something that they did that day, they're oh, I could do this more often.
Right. And recharged and rejuvenated and know that their employer has their backs.
Right.
Which I think is something that everybody wants to feel right now, is that that somebody has your back, and to know that that's your employer.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, honestly, like, and you've been to our building. We like each other.
Yeah,
we like what we do.
It's true. You walk into the building and you're like, okay, how do I work here?
Yeah,
you know,
and
I'm sure it's not perfect.
What school is?
No school is.
Right.
But I think that when you walk into North Kirkwood Middle, especially when you see the dog and the front office staff who are always so welcoming and never like, who are you here to see? Like they're actually like, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
You know, it makes you want to keep coming to that school.
Yeah.
I mean, I will be honest, sometimes middle schools, especially like spring, it's like, oh, but our staff always want to go to your school. And I think that the energy is something that I strive for in my building too, right? Like it's that thing that you can't really describe.
Right.
But it's not everybody gets along all the time, but it's like, okay, we got you.
Yeah, it's
and
not
I know
about
that you got me.
It's just a good place to be, and when people want to be there and they want to work with each other and for each other, it's just, I don't know, it's just fun.
Yeah,
I mean, you get more out of people that way.
So what's next for you, Dr. Dana Liberton? Or have you? Is this like? Have you peaked?
I think I peaked. No, I don't know. People are like, so now you're going to be superintendent. I'm like, oh. So
is that even is that even on your radar? Or are you like, no, let me do this for a couple years?
I just want to do this. Like, this is great.
And you didn't even ever think you'd do this?
No, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, there's pieces of me that's
Let's be honest.
I mean, I look back and I'm like, oh, that would have been fun. Oh, that career would have been cool. But no, I like this. I love the people that I work with. I have an amazing assistant principal right now, and that's been really fun too.
Awesome.
I mean, I know his job way better than I know my own.
Oh, so you can kind of like mentor and support and things like that?
I mean,
or is it the other way around?
It's a little both. I mean, it's a little of all of that, but it's just good.
It's
like,
good.
Yeah, when you hire the right people and you surround yourself by good people, and middle school kids are a riot.
I love middle school.
I mean, and we're a rare bunch. Most
I know.
people look at us and they're like, oh, Lord. I'm like, they're hilarious.
I think, speaking of peaked, I think I peaked when I was 12. I think I have the humor of a middle school boy. I certainly dress like, you know, I love the Cat and Jack department at Target. I definitely dress like a middle schooler. So I love middle school. So I hear you on that. And you do seem like you're in your element when you're walking down the hallway. Which
they're fun. I mean, even when they're a mess. And there are some of them, they are a mess, you know, and we
stink.
Know that
some of them stink
they're
a little
smelly
bit.
sometimes.
They're just like trying to figure out the deodorant situation.
They're smelly sometimes. I mean, we get really excited when they start like getting interested in dating because then they usually start smelling better.
Right, right.
But they don't realize sometimes that they're the stinky one.
No, they have no idea.
They know somebody stinks.
They just don't know. Is that me? Wow.
We've had that conversation. I've been like, guys, really?
Yeah.
I know it's a weird conversation with your parents, but like, you got to go in the medicine cabinet. I used to say, like, there's certain misters that middle schoolers need. You know, like there was a time, this is not politically correct, but I was like, we need Ritalin misters, right? Like when they walk in the door, you know, and then there was times, I shouldn't say that, I'm preventable, right?
So it's okay.
And
it's
then I'm
right.
like, oh, there should be a deodorant mister. Right? There's certain misters that middle schoolers, we just need some misters.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
How'd you bring me down this path? I was in the
through and like, so everybody gets a little bit of it. I understand. This has been so fun. This is the highlight of my week. I've been looking forward to this. And you keep, sending me those wrestling tickets, and we'll just keep getting you on and pumping up Kirkwood School District because it's a great place to be.
No, and you guys are great. So thank you guys to Preventable.
Thank you very, very much. If you liked this conversation, if you want more with Dr. Dana Liberton, if you want to find out more about some of the really cool things they're doing for their staff, please consider rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks for joining us at The Preventable, brought to you ad-free by Prevent+Ed. Prevent+Ed works to reduce or prevent the harms of alcohol and other drug use through education, intervention, and advocacy. Please visit their website at prevented.org. Like what you heard? Rate, review, and subscribe to stay up to date with what we are serving on The Preventable.